imbalance in our body is the leading cause of most things we call diseases. My name is Grace Enemali, and in this very video, I want to talk on foods to help you balance your hormone. Hormone is one of those messengers, the hormones, that play vital role on a daily basis when it comes to our wellness and other functions of our body. And what exactly are the hormones? They are simply messengers moving in different parts of the body from one place to the other to affect or influence or decide how that organ works. And these hormones are produced in different parts of the body. Example of hormones like the melatonin, which the brain produces, the insulin, which the pancreas produces, even the cortisol. It's also a hormone, sometimes called the stress hormone, because they carry messengers and they act as messengers on how the body utilizes glucose, fat, and other nutrients like that. And when we live a certain lifestyle, when we engage in certain foods, it will influence how these hormones behave in our body. And these food choices and lifestyle also can throw us out of balance and putting us in need of a balancing food. And there is actually no time when you do a test when your entire hormones and everything will be 100%. So if you have been told that you have an imbalanced hormone, it's nothing to worry about, because there is almost never a time when you will get a result that says everything is 100%. There will always be one hormone trying to dominate another one as a result of our food choices and our lifestyles. Now, when you come to the female gender, there are two most common and popular hormones, and that is the estrogen and the progesterone. These two hormones, one is active, that is the estrogen, during the productive years to help the woman conceive another thing, and we have other ones that when the woman begins to enter menopause, the estrogen begins to reduce, the activity of that messenger begin to reduce, and then the woman's body begins to change. And there is another hormone that takes over, and that is the progesterone. And that is why it is necessary, once a woman is about to enter her menopause, she must make some changes. Because when you are still in your productive years, this other hormone is playing an active and major role. And now its work is about to be terminated or to be reduced. And when it's to be reduced, those food choices that you were eating, you may still ignorantly and innocently be still engaging in all of them. Foods like fatty foods, processed foods, some of the foods we're eating and innocently and getting away. Lots of nuts, consuming anything. Most of these things, you were eating them, your body was able to handle them because of the female hormone, the estrogen. But by the time you start to go towards the menopause, this particular hormone's function is no longer active. And so when you begin to consume or engage in those foods that you were eating as a productive woman, it's going to begin to settle because they are no longer needed. And so weight gain begins to come in. And now, with the coming of weight gain, other things begin to come up. And now when the weight gain comes up, there is already an imbalance. That's what we're talking. You start having the need to balance hormone. And now, if you have a need to balance any hormone, it's important to know the particular hormone that is dominating. For instance, if you have been engaging in all those stuff that you were eating as a productive woman, and you start noticing excessive weight gain, then you will need other foods to balance it. And what are the foods? Foods like the cruciferous vegetables, all those food that helps to burn fat, all those food that will not store unhealthy fats. You begin to engage in some herbal teas to help you to reduce the tendency for the weight gain to come. Because if you are still consuming those foods that you were eating many years back while having your children, it's going to be causing you to have excessive weight gain. And that weight gain, if you do nothing nutritionally about it, is going to usher in high blood sugar, arthritis, going to usher in high blood pressure, is going to be ushering in, insomnia and other ailments. And so, what are the foods that you need to balance your hormone if it is progesterone? Now, most menopausal women are actually battling with progesterone, too much of it. I occasionally do sense it. It was not even too long that I got to begin to walk towards that direction, put my eye seriously on it, because the progesterone, when you eat too much of the nuts, whether it's cashew nuts, whether it is walnut, whether it is peanuts, these foods are estrogen foods. So by the time we are already in our menopause and we are still enjoying them, they are going to cause us to begin to have health problems, though they are healthy foods. Foods like soya beans, these are estrogen foods that works best when you are still in your productive years. But when you are not, when you have moved to the menopausal years, such foods like soya beans, you have to reduce their consumption. Such foods like fatty foods, you have to reduce their consumption and begin to consume more of the foods that will help to burn fat. Food that will not store as fat, like the cruciferous vegetables. You have to change a little bit. Food that will help you to remove toxins from the body, because the tendency of toxins to stay put is higher during the menopause years. And so if you are looking for food to balance your excess progesterone, then you should be considering the cruciferous vegetables, foods like onions, foods like cabbage. Most of the greens are also in it. Fish oil, they are good. I'm talking of fatty fish, they are good for this. And then some of the healthy fats like coconut oil. Cold pressed coconut oil is good for during the menopause years to balance that hormone, but not too much of the estrogen. Not to say that they are bad. Some of the foods are good on both sides. But when you are on one side of it, when there is a dominant estrogen hormone, you have to reduce its consumption in order to get that balance. When there is a dominant progesterone hormone in the woman, you have to reduce those foods that are estrogen foods. Most of them like the nuts, the carbohydrates, the sugary foods, a lot of other foods that you've been enjoying. Even your body will give you the signal, because they will be creating things like inflammations. And so you will need to understand the foods that you have been indulging in. Remember that even stress can also, affect the progesterone. It can affect it. And so if you suspect that you have been engaged in a lot of stress, you definitely have to slow down in order for you to regain your balance. Because I've had to do this lately. Lately I've had to slow down on some activities at certain time when I found out that I suspected rather that my hormonal system was completely out of balance. So I was like, sometimes you may be losing weight excessively, sometimes you may be gaining weight. These are the ways it manifests. If you discover that you are losing weight, for instance, it may be the progesterone. Maybe stress is too much. If you slow down on that stress, whatever is giving you the stress, if you slow down on it, especially physical stress, and begin to bring in the foods that will help to balance it, you just suddenly discover that your balance is back. And so balancing hormone, there are no specific list of foods until you know the exact dominant hormone. Hormone controls a lot of things, including how you sleep, your reproduction, the breast, how the breast produces milk, the thyroid, a lot of things. They depend on the message from the hormones. They are messengers. So when the hormones bring the message, that's when they do their job. And so like the cold pressed coconut oil is particularly good for the menopausal women because it helps to boost metabolism. When you are in the menopause years, you need to include more foods that boost metabolism, not food that tends to store fat, like the estrogen messengers. You need to eat more of those fat-burning vegetables, food that help to reduce fat storage, food that are low in calorie, herbal teas. Maybe you've not been liking them before. You start occasionally, you make tea with soursop leaves, hibiscus flower tea. You can join them with guava leaf to help to control sugar, because if you are consuming too much of carbohydrates, for instance, your hormone will be out of balance, for instance. Especially the menopausal women. If you are consuming too much carbohydrate the way you were consuming before, you're going to throw your hormone out of balance. Whether it is healthy nuts you are consuming, peanut, cashew nut, walnut, it's still going to throw you out of balance. Whatever food you consume in excess, especially during that menopausal years, is definitely going to throw you out of balance. And what you need to balance it is the exact opposite of it, where you are missing out. So once you discover there is a dominant hormone, all you need to do is identify the foods and the lifestyles that brought about that hormone dominating. And then you bring in those things and make some few changes to your lifestyle, and you get your balance. It doesn't require, although there are a few medications over the counter, but they're not the best. Some of them do have their own side effect, but you will never be told these things. You will just, be using them, and over the years, you may start to have some of the effects. You can also state some of the symptoms in the comment section so that based on it, we can move further to know some of the foods that can help you to balance it. And if you like this message, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tips such as this. Thank you for watching.